Discover Help presents Stress-Free Living with Ray Samich and Mr. Stress-Free, Ratanjit S. Sandhi. This audio program is an unscripted and unrehearsed conversation between Ray and Ratanjit. It is shared with you in hope of adding value to your life. We encourage you to listen to this program in its entirety to receive the full impact of its message. Sit back, relax, open your heart, mind, and soul to this edition of Stress-Free Living.
Welcome to Stress-Free Living. Thanks so much for being with us today. I'm Ray Samich, and I would love to introduce to all of you my longtime co-host of the show, my radio colleague, but more importantly, my spiritual brother, Ratanjit Sandhi. Ratanjit, how are you today?
Wonderful, Ray. How are you?
Outstanding. Thank you. Feeling even better now than I was a half hour ago before we reunited here on our Zoom format. And again, would like to invite all of our listeners, all of our audiences to tune in and be a part of our Zoom conversation. We really enjoy interacting with you. Go out and visit our YouTube channel, our Stress-Free Living radio channel on YouTube, and you can get the Zoom link and you can be a part of our conversation each and every week. Ratanjit, today we want to talk about entitlement. And I know that's a big topic. There's so many different aspects about it. But I want to tell you just a quick story of why I thought about talking about this.
Okay.
There's barely a couple of days that go by that someone isn't telling me that the young people of the world today, the new millennial generation, are not entitled. These people, they're so upset. The older people are saying these young kids are so entitled. They think they deserve everything and they haven't worked for it. And they don't want to work. They don't want to, pay their dues. They just want everything. They're entitled. And I was thinking about that. And then I was thinking, well, gee, hasn't the older generation pretty much always felt that way? Haven't the parents, the grandparents always said my kids feel entitled compared to what I had? And then I said, gee, but isn't the truth that the parents are creating that because they want their kids to have more than they did? I think it's just naturally for the parents to say, I don't want my kids to suffer as much as I had to suffer. I don't want them to be in want of things like I was in want of things. So they give their kids more, which automatically then the kids have more and they think they deserve more. And then I went to the next topic in my brain and I said, we're talking about giving things to people that maybe don't deserve it, that maybe feel entitled to it but haven't earned it. And isn't that the very nature of life itself? I mean, as you've said many times on this show, life is a gift to us. Our very existence isn't due to anything that we did. It just was given to us. Our very life, blood, existence was entirely given as a gift without any kind of action and deserving portion of our life, because we didn't have a life to do it, to be able to earn it. So aren't we all entitled? Aren't we all, our very nature of existence based on being entitled? So I don't know what you think, but I walked this through my brain and I just came to say, yeah, young people are entitled, but every person is entitled if you really look at the definition. What do you think?
What happened in our life is that we somehow got on the wrong direction. Entitlement comes from the arrow which is coming towards me. What is in it for me? Everything is, so you become the center of the universe and you are satisfying your expectations which is given to you by your parents, by your society, by your education, by your surroundings. So you are told that if you get this degree, you will get this much money. So we planted the seed of expectation in their mind, and when they graduate and when they can't find that proper job, which gives them that kind of money which they are expecting, suddenly they are disenchanted. So they are somehow they are entitled to that money because they have gotten that degree. So our entire society is based on expectation, and expectations is a seed of your entitlement. So when you get married, you are entitled to this love, you are entitled to attention, you are entitled to serving and all that. And when that doesn't happen, suddenly you are disenchanted with your marriage, with your partner. And similarly, your friendship, everything. But ultimately, the secret is that we only have control of what I can do. I do not have control of what is given to me, what happens to me. So when you focus on the control which you have, which is basically your your core understanding of this phenomena of joy and happiness. Once the joy and happiness is focused around our five senses, we get into entitlement. When we realize that our true happiness is vested within our soul to pleasing our soul, and that only happens when we add value, when we do things, when we add convenience to others around us. So that is unlimited. So once that understanding happens, entitlement goes away and is replaced by gratefulness. Right?
Ratanjit, I wrote down there's, as you always do, 3 or 4 different paths that we can talk. I want to talk about the expectation factor. I want to talk about what we control and what we're able to do. I want to talk about the five senses in terms of what and adding the value. All of those things. But I want to go back because there's something before all of those that I would like to learn and understand better. And that is, can we agree that we are all living with entitlement that we don't deserve? You said entitlement comes from expectations because other people have planted thoughts in our head that if we do this, we'll get this. And so we're entitled to it, even if that didn't happen, or if it did happen, we thought we were entitled to it. But to me, entitlement is the very nature of that word is that we should get something. We should, we're owed something, where we are, uh, the world should give us this possession, this freedom, this opportunity. We deserve this. We deserve this. We're entitled to this. We really don't deserve anything. I mean, when we're born as a baby, we've done nothing to deserve anything. We already have been given life. And the most precious gift of anything is we've talked about we can get all these possessions, we can have all of these titles, we can have all this power and fame and fortune. but it's all over as soon as our life is over. And so the very most foremost thing, the foundational thing of our value, of our purpose in life is the life itself. And we're given to that without deserving it. So isn't that really fundamental to understand before anything else?
Yeah, basically, look around. Right now, we are in the middle of elections. So, what our politicians are saying is, we can give you this. I can have all those expectations which are being enhanced. And naturally, that's what we suddenly, those are our expectation. So expectation eventually become our basically entitlement, because you have promised me this and I'm entitled to this. So I am entitled as I'm born in U.S. as to become a U.S. citizen, and as a U.S. citizen, I'm entitled to these kind of things. So those are the things which our society promises or leader promise. Our entitlement is a pseudo promise which is given by or around our parents, our society, our education, or everything. Basically, once you understand the law of nature, basically what we control is not what is expecting. Once you base your entire life on expectations, on your demands, on your basically entitlements, you'll be very unhappy because you are giving the charge of your happiness to somebody else. Whereas you have control. How do you think, what you do, what you pick up and what you deliver, and all those things you can do. So if you focus on what you can do and not focus on the outcome of what you are doing, you are automatically going to get a much better return on your time and your energy invested in the task you are performing.
We're
I go back.
we're just not exactly on the same page on with what I'm trying to ask and what you're answering. You used to always give me an example years ago that was so basic and simple, but it was so meaningful to me, is that you said, if whether you're a saint or a sinner, whether you have lived your whole life doing wonderful, incredible, amazing, good things, or whether you are a hardened criminal and you've done terrible things, when you go outside in the rain, you will get wet. You used to tell me though that example all the time. The law of nature, the discipline of life is that if you stand in the rain, you will get wet. And it doesn't matter if you've lived your life well or if you have lived your life poorly. The law of nature is that this will happen as a result of standing in the rain. Now, the analogy to this conversation is that entitlement can make us think all kinds of things. It can give us all kinds of false hopes, and we can base our life on thinking we're entitled. But the reality is the law of nature says these things will happen. This, if you do this, this will be the result of that. If this situation occurs, this will be the result of that situation. That's more truth than any theory of entitlement. Entitlement is, you can call it expectations, you can call it, misperceptions of what I believe I should have and should get, but it's really the nature's law, the disciplines of the world that dictate what happened to us. Does that clarify what I'm kind of asking? Am I seeing this all wrong, or do you agree
No.
with
So
my take on it?
what is your question?
Well, my question is that the I think we're all entitled. I think it isn't because parents planted an expectation thought in us that if we go to college, we'll get a good paying job. I think it's so much deeper than that. I think that as a society, we've all think that we're entitled to all kinds of things. And there really shouldn't be any entitlement. We don't deserve anything. We don't we 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 shouldn't be handed anything in our life just because of who we are, but because of, we the nature's laws say that if you do this, this will happen. If you live your life this way, this is going to be the result of that. We're not entitled to living our life with freedom unless we do what is required to have freedom.
They're looking from that angle. You have two laws. One is created by nature, gravitational law, where getting wet in the rain law, and so many laws which happen by the nature. Those are we can rely on completely. Aeroplane would collapse if the gravitational force changes, right?
Right.
So
Right.
our whole science or technology and our everything driving the car or everything is based on understanding these natural laws.
Right.
And eventually we call it science, and when we find the application of it, we call it technology. Now, then there are other laws, human-made laws. Human-made laws are constantly changed. What you call law, tomorrow Congress changes that, and suddenly that becomes a crime, right?
Right. Or
So,
vice versa.
or vice versa.
Yeah.
So, when your entitlement is based on human-made laws, you will be disappointed. When the entitlement is based on natural laws, you can rely on it.
Right. Right. That's that's my first point. Thank you. And that's the only entitlement that really matters. I mean, that's the only one that really works, right? I mean, that's the only one that says that, again, as simplistic as it sounds, if you stand in the rain, you'll get wet. Okay. To me, that is such a powerful example when you told me that in my younger days, that I've used that with so many other people, is that, you know, and I've applied this to a lot of people, that when they say they don't deserve, they've lived such a good life, they've done so many wonderful things, they've helped so many people, they've raised money to build churches, and they've given to the poor, and they've, sacrificed and all these things, they didn't deserve to get sick, and those kind of things. Or they didn't deserve to be in a terrible accident, a car accident. And it's like, that's not the way it works. I wish we all could build up all of these good things to offset the bad things that happen in life, but it doesn't work that way.
You know, looking at the man-made laws, whenever you use my example of getting wet in the
Yeah.
water, I should get a royalty.
You should. You should.
So,
I
so
would have
my
had to pay you a lot
expect,
of money.
yeah,
Yeah.
suddenly I'm very disappointed because I'm not getting it.
Well, You know what's funny is that
I'm
that's
entitled
such
to
a
a royalty.
you are you are entitled to it, and that's such a simple thought. When people hear that, they say, "Of course you get wet when you stand in the rain," but it's the deeper understanding of what that means. That is so powerful that no matter if you're a saint or a sinner, you're going to get wet by the rain. And I just think that's such a fundamental lesson that we need to understand. We need to teach
Now,
our
now
kids
the
that.
now the thing is this, that if I consider that thought to be mine, which I mentioned to you, my mind is going to calculate the royalty.
Right.
But if that thought is a gift to me, I don't deserve a royalty. So all these eventual, thoughts which come to you and things your hands can create and all that creativity and ideas and all that, I started a business and was successful. So when I start taking the credit for my success, the fundamental thing is all our success are not because of us. They are always in spite of us. When we see the hand of this bigger power within us, we convert our mindset from entitlement into gratefulness. Suddenly, positive thought come into play. Gratefulness give you higher energy. You have stronger immune system. You have less stress and anxiety and depression. Your blood pressure, your uh, cardiac functions improve, and you are better communicator. You have a clear thinking. All those good things happen to you once you park yourself into gratefulness mode. Once you park yourself in entitlement mode, nothing, you sink into depression constantly.
Yep.
So that's fundamental, right?
I never would have guessed that the opposite of gratefulness is entitlement. I never would have guessed that. But it really is true. If we if we feel like we deserve everything, then there is no gratefulness. There isn't any because we feel that we're entitled to it. I mean, I know I keep using the word in my, in my definition erroneously, but I'm hopefully making the point is that we feel like this should come to us. And if we think it's coming to us, then we're never grateful for it because it's owed to us. So why should I be grateful for it? You know, it's like if I loaned you $10 and you came back the next day and gave me the $10 back. Okay, I would say, okay, you paid your debt. I loaned it to you, you gave it back to me. I'm really not grateful that you gave it back to me because you owed it to me. So I may say thank you for paying me back because you didn't have to, but I don't really feel grateful because you owed me that money back. And I think that's the way so many of us live our life. We just think that we deserve everything. Like you said earlier, we go to school, so we deserve to have a good paying job. We get married and we're nice to our spouse, so we deserve them. We expect them and deserve that they are nice back to us. We live and we work for so many years, so we deserve a nice car and a nice house. We just it's expectation, but it's more than expectation because in there we're owed that. It isn't just a mental expectation. We really feel emotionally that we're owed these things. We deserve these things.
See,
And boy, that is, like you
in the
said,
in
that's
the
not healthy.
entitlement mode, I loan you my money. In the gratefulness mode, I share my money. When I share my money, if you don't give it to me, I generally share it with you. And I tell you, instead of giving me, share it to the next guy who needs it,
Right.
rather than asking you to return my money.
Right.
So that is entitlement.
Right. Right.
So I think you need to
Yeah.
take a break.
We do need to take a break, but this is interesting where this is going here today. We are talking about a lot of different things. Started with entitlement, moving to expectations, gratefulness, adding value, all kinds of things. We're going to continue this conversation. We hope you're enjoying it, and we'll be back in just a moment. This is Stress Free Living. All right, everybody, you have 90 seconds. If you think we're on the right track or wrong track or have a question or thought, please share it with us. Dr. Ken, you open your mic, go ahead.
No, I was saying that I think we are on the right track. This is probably the discussion we need to have it. I think from psychological viewpoint, we look at more how we set up the expectations of people who they think they deserve entitlement. So their expectations are society should give it, or somebody should give it, or parents should give it. And often we have traced these things when the children are treated that way. So if a child wants everything right away, we give it, or we don't say, no, you have to do something to earn this. That's where the problem occurs. People want it, I want to eat this, you would give it without even saying that this is not the right time to eat. Think about it. What do you have to do to get that? And often, like Ratanjit Singh, he's saying that we set their expectations to like full throttle. We tell them, if you do this, you will get it. No, you won't get it. Chances are you may get it. The higher chances are that if you study, you'll get it.
We are back on Stress Free Living. Ray Samich and Ratanjit Sandhi with you as we're interacting with our wonderful guests during the breaks. And we invite you again to be a part of that. Check out our Stress Free Living radio channel on YouTube, and you can learn how to do it. Ratanjit, let's go there with what one of our guests said. Are we kind of creating this problem for ourselves? I in my opening comments, I think it's pretty much across the board, with rare exception, that parents want their kids to be better off than they were. Parents have learned and experienced hardships and had to make sacrifices and had to go through periods of not being able to have everything they wanted. So it's kind of natural that we want to give our kids a better life. And then those kids, when they grow up and become parents, want to give their kids a better life. And so we've increased the amount of expectations. We've increased the amount of entitlements because we keep giving our kids more, and we do it lovingly. We do it with the best of intentions. But by doing that, are we teaching them the wrong things? Are we teaching them that they deserve more even if they don't deserve more? What do you think on that?
You cannot give something which you don't have. Fundamental.
Sure.
Parents don't have a good life themselves. How can they give better life to their children? Fundamental is going to shock you, right? Because we call material things as a better life. We call greed as a better life. We call competition as a better life. So those criteria are erroneous. We plant that into a human being. We do not fundamentally, going back to a deep philosophy expressed in one of the scriptures in old time, is called Bhagavad Gita, and it says a person must concentrate on their task, on what they are doing, but never focus on the return, never have an expectations. So you're on the wrong path. You are not allowed to even think of expectation. You're always thinking of doing things. Now, how does it work in the worldly paradigm? So I remember an example of this person who was a janitor. He worked for a chemical company. And this guy was amazing. Everything he touches, everything he would do, he would try to elevate. So the cleaning methods he elevated. And eventually he constantly invested his free time into studying. So as the time went, because he was such a great guy, he was given better responsibility. So eventually he was in charge of keeping the whole plant clean. And eventually he became the maintenance director. And when he graduated into chemical technology, he was made into the research. And eventually that person became the CEO of the company. Although he never was, his thinking was never to have an expectation to have a higher job. He was basically focused. His mindset was constantly making things better. How can I improve? How can I make it better? So even in the worldly thing, if you are focusing on becoming a CEO, this is what your mission is. If you are basically do not understand the value of adding the highest value and constant improvement, you will never become a CEO. You will be disappointed. You will be suing the company because of discrimination and all those things. This is what we see around us. So fundamentally, we are designed to do things. We are not designed to expect. So we are going in the wrong direction of our design. We are going to be disappointed. So expectation is not what I want to have. I always want to focus on how can I improve what am I doing? How can I learn more to have the capacity to make better improvements? So that is what life is all about, right?
So it would seem to me, and I'm familiar with that story, even who that person was and what the company was, and it's obviously true. As crazy as some people listening to this, watching this might say, that's not possible. The guy doesn't get started as a janitor and become a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company, but yes, he did. But part of the amazing part, maybe the most amazing part of the story, is that he not only didn't expect the advancement, it wasn't even his goal. He didn't say, boy, one day I'd like to be CEO, or one day I'd like to be in charge of all maintenance of all facilities. He didn't do what he did is he lived in the moment. and said, okay, right now, how can I add the highest value today to what I'm doing? Most people are it's either by our internal personality or we're trained to be this way. We're constantly saying, how can I get ahead? How can I get to the next step? How can I set my goals so that every day I get closer to this result? We're taught to do that. We're taught to set goals. We're taught to always improve ourselves and always get more and have the opportunities of getting higher along the path of making more money and having more success and all of those kind of things. There seems to be a little bit of a contradiction in there. I mean, I know you did, in your companies, you had goal setting. I mean, you had certain expectations to hit budgets, to hit sales numbers and to minimize expenses with operations so you don't have waste. How do you put those two factors together where you only live in the moment today to add the highest value, yet you have a plan for your life? You're motivated to have goals, or in business, you're motivated to reach levels of success. How does that fit together?
If you set one goal, you don't have to set another goal at all. That one goal is I am going to make the best I have produced better. And that goal is going to result into things which you never can plan or expect. There'll be much higher improvement than any goals can give you. Basically, it is the path. Once you are on the path of making your best better, making your constant improvement, because life is basically nothing stationary. It is always moving. So it can move to become worse or it can move to become better. It doesn't stay in one place. You buy a home, if you don't do the maintenance, it deteriorates, right? If you have your health, if you don't do proper exercise, you don't do proper thinking, not have proper positive mindset, it will deteriorate sooner. So basically, the whole world is moving. So you cannot stay in one place. So either you move ahead or you'll go backward. And basically, the goal setting is because you cannot control the environment. You cannot control what is going to be required by technology or so many other things which are happening around you. You have very limited knowledge of that. In that limited knowledge, how can you plan anything? The only thing you can plan is to make things better. And you can plan to enhance your understanding, your knowledge, your skills, so that you know how to make things better. And that is the only purpose.
Ratanjit, you've just said so much that is really meaningful. And it's true on a personal basis, there's no question about it. But even at the global world business basis, okay, One of the companies that's struggling right now in a major way, they just changed their CEO, they're changing their way of doing business, is Starbucks. Okay. And, Starbucks for years has been the epitome of a successful business. I mean, everybody wanted to be like Starbucks. Everybody wanted to, they were making a lot of money. They had a great brand. They had a great reputation. Everybody just loved it. And today they're struggling. Okay. And you can talk about so many other businesses like that, so many entities that are now close to bankruptcy or now, have already failed. And you look at it and you say, why? They had a great business model. They had a great business plan. They even had really good, hardworking people and good leadership. And yet, as you just pointed out, we can't control the factors around us. We can't control the changes of technology. A company like Blockbuster, wasn't that many years ago that blockbusters were just huge and recognized for being, evolutionary and at the head of the technology game. And now they're totally gone because they've been replaced through technology. It seems like if we put our emphasis, if we place our expectations on factors that we can't control, we're almost doomed to fail. It seems, you said this at the beginning of the show, it comes down to what we can control. We can't control others. So I guess you've come full circle with this. But we just think that we can, but part of that entitlement, I think, is that we also feel that we can control a lot of factors we can't. We need to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to kind of wrap this up, for at least for today's show, although we may have to continue this conversation. What ultimately can we do right now to eliminate the entitlement factor in our life, switch it to gratefulness, but at the same time, be all that we can be and take advantage of all that we can control? We'll answer some of those questions when we come back on this edition of Stress Free Living. Stay with us. All right. 90 seconds. Sorry to cut you off there, Doctor, last time. Had to get back on the air.
No, no. I think Ratanjit ji, he just said the right thing. He said if we keep on focusing on improving, the question is Starbucks, are they keep on improving? Are they innovating? Are they looking from the customer standpoint? I mean, they reached a certain level, but are they from this level where they are? How can they improve it further is the question. Either they have to come out with a product that's better or delivery that's better or convenient that's better. I don't know that part. I think that a lot of hospitals go the same thing. They suddenly started focusing on how to make more money or, keep more money or increase the revenues and cut short everything else. And those things probably can boil down to some of the undesired things like services.
Yep.
And he's saying the right things. We just have to know how to get there, how to improve that, how to keep on making our product better. And better is a big word.
Well, he didn't say better either. He said best.
Okay. Make it best. But the best is also change it. It's a moving target.
Make your best better.
Yeah.
Make your best better, right? Right.
So it's always a moving target.
So basically, when I want to achieve my best, so that is a
We're coming back. Hang on. We're coming back. We are back on Stress Free Living. Ratanjit and Ray, yours truly, Ray Samich, with you today, talking about a number of different things. We started talking with entitlement and whether we all are entitled, whether the younger people are more entitled than their parents and their grandparents were, whether our parents are even teaching entitlement to our kids. Are we provoking that mentality? And from there, we talked, Ratanjit introduced the thought that maybe gratefulness is the opposite of entitlement. He didn't use those words, I guess I did. But if we're grateful at every moment for what we have, then we don't feel entitled. We don't feel that we're owed anything. We're grateful for everything that we have, every opportunity that we can do. And from there, we've had a more discussion about kind of living in the present and adding the highest value in the moment and making our very best, what we thought was our best, even better. Ratanjit, I think I want to go back to that point. You said we only should have one goal, whether it's personal or whether it's a business operation, an organization, should just have one goal, and that is every person should just have the intention of making their very best better every day. Do you really believe that that is all a company needs? That's all an organization needs. That's all a couple need in a relationship, is to have that mindset. It seems too simple in this complicated, fast changing world. It seems too simple to think that that's the answer. Does it, is it that simple?
You look at it from another angle. Everybody wants to be happy. Our life purpose of our life is to be happy.
Right. Right.
So we are looking our happiness in satisfying our five senses. Better home, better car, better this, better all that. And eventually you get into the race and you get caught by your ego. So once you operate in the egoic mode and your five senses mode of greed, fear, and you're basically uh, lust of power, that mode is never going to be satisfied. The real happiness comes from when we create something, when we achieve something. Satisfaction comes, a different kind of satisfaction comes to us. So why don't we go on that path to make ourselves truly happy? And this, when you tie these things to continuous improvement, when I learn something new, I am happy. Even the 89-year-old person, when that person reads something new, they are happy. They don't need that at that age. But constant learning makes you excited, makes you happier. And when you use that learning towards adding the highest value, even you become happier. And world rewards you all that. If you have a service which is better than somebody else, you can market it, you can. So ultimately, the path is to make ourselves happy. You become happy by learning, by creating, by adding value. So once you understand that, your goal becomes to constantly make your best better. When you are making your best better, you are going to require much higher energy, much higher learning, much higher visualization, much higher awakeness. So you live a life of being fully aware, fully awake, fully and charge. And basically, you begin to live life. Otherwise, you are in the half asleep coma mode by putting more food in you, putting all these fancy things around you, and getting lost in feeling that you are better. And eventually, somebody says, no, 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 you are not better. This person is better. Suddenly you feel sad. So leave that paradigm and come into the paradigm of adding higher value and making your best better. Suddenly, the region of entitlement disappears and you park yourself into gratefulness mode. And eventually your life falls in place, right?
Ratanjit, I get asked by a lot of people, what should I do? What kind of career should I go into now? Younger people coming out of high school, coming out of college, they see this ever-changing world. Even within the technology realm, there's highs and lows within that category itself. So, very highly defined. What should I do? Usually there's money is part of the agenda. Where can I make a lot of money? But there's also just stability. There's just a feeling of where can I be fulfilled? Where can I know that I can go into a field of work and have success and be able to pay my bills and have a good life. When we hear that story about the guy that started as a janitor, his parents, I would not have guessed, would have said, we hope your first job is as a janitor. We hope your career is going to be in building maintenance. And that's an important job, and I'm not belittling it, but it's probably not what is on anybody's career list in terms of what I want to be when I grow up. What do we teach our kids? What do we tell our kids? And how do we know what we're supposed to be doing? How do we figure that out at a young age so that when we're in college, we come back and say, this is what I should be doing. This is my career path.
If you look at the corporation, there's a CEO of the company. And under that CEO, they are department heads. Head of the marketing, head of the research, head of the maintenance, head of production, head of the everything. And these heads obviously know much more in that field than the CEO.
Right.
Technically, the CEO is the dumbest guy in the company. Why that person is a CEO? Because he assembles all these great talents and eventually combines that into a product or service to add higher value to the customer. So you are talking about choosing a career, whether to become an engineer or a doctor or this. Nature has designed us as a unique masterpiece. We are unique. There are certain things naturally come to us. To understand those things naturally. So those things which excite you, follow that. And that is your path to add the highest value, because you will be able to add the highest value. But don't forget, in spite of what excites you, what you know better, when you are traveling and you see a car stranded, and that you find that this old lady had a tire which has been ruptured. So although you don't have the talent to change the tire, but that time you are better equipped to change the tire than the lady. And if you change the tire, although it may take you 4 times more time than normal person would take, but you have added the highest value. So don't forget, in spite of your expertise, your focus remain on adding the highest value. Right?
Ratanjit, we're going to leave it at that because we're out of time. Thank you for a really interesting show. Thanks for, as always, sharing your wisdom and your love with all of us. We appreciate all of you joining us here today, and we hope that we have added some value to your life. Remember, we're all playing the same game. Have a great day. We'll talk to you again real soon. Thank you.
We have Sahil stay with us. Hey, Sahil, how are you?
Open up your mics, everybody. It's your turn. Love to hear from you.
Hello.
Hello.
So we made any sense, or we're just gabbling?
Oh, I think it made a lot of sense. I really enjoyed the show. I attended it from my gym, and I think it was quite an insightful conversation. I think the best point of the show for me was it's not. It really, we have to focus on what we do and not the outcome, which you mentioned in the mid segment of the show. And yeah, all of the points mentioned in entitlement were quite amazing. Even the story about the janitor, which I'll Google later on because I really want to know what company CEO he is now. But thank you for that.
Lubrizol.
Lubrizol, lovely. Thank you.
Lubrizol Corporation. Yeah.
Great story. Thank you for sharing that.
They're based here in Cleveland, Ohio, but they are global.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dr.
Well,
Singh?
glad to have you back with us. Sana has given us an input too on the chat. I'm not sure if she's able to join us too verbally, but
Yeah,
she's
sure.
expressed some nice thoughts. There you are. Thank
Yes.
you. Why
Thank you.
don't
Thank
you
you
share? Because
so
yeah, go ahead and say what you chatted, because I'm not sure Ratanjit has read that yet.
Yeah. So the biggest takeaway for me in today's session is a constant reminder that we have to make a better best by enhancing our skills, constant learning about the changing current scenario and demands, and upgrading ourselves. So that's the biggest takeaway. And all our successes are in spite of us. That is, again, a very profound reminder.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Not better best, but our best better.
Our best better. Thank you.
That's even
Thank
one
you.
level higher.
One level higher. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Glad you were
Thank
with
you.
us.
Dr.
Thank you.
Singh, how are you?
I'm fine. Well, you have already touched on the entitled, because the topic was entitlement, the natural divine entitlement, just like all the laws of the nature, we are already entitled and we are already given to it. And man-made laws, I think we are all earning it, or it depends upon everyone. Even the law of entitlement of breathing, we have already discussed that sea mammals they don't have a unconscious breathing. They have to breathe with time. So if there is no entitlement of breathing, then where will we stand? So that is the nature hukam, or whatever we call it. And the best part is living at the moment. We have already discussed past as history and future we don't know. That is the reason the present moment, we call it a present, because it is the gift of God, which is the right moment at this moment. So it is a present given to us. So I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ken, any last thoughts from you? Oh, we can't hear you.
Dr. Mehta, any last thoughts?
I was just saying that he has already said a lot of things. We are really thankful. You both did a wonderful job of conducting this orchestra. It's not an easy topic, and it's not a simple topic. people have to know that they are not entitled for anything for sure. We have to do certain things to deserve it and keep on doing it, like he's saying, best, better, to keep on deserving it or at least expecting it. I don't know. This word entitlement is.
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you very
You
much.
had asked when you first came in, you said, how do we mean that? What are we going to talk about? So I think you now you see what we had a whole lot of ways to take it.
Yeah, it's very generalized topic, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, you can, but it is a problem. I really think it's the
And it's
existence of that.
increasing at least based on the literature, they're saying that people are feeling more and more entitled every day. And that's a problem for a psychologist and psychiatrist, actually. They should come and listen to this show.
Well,
Because they are
and
treating all these cases.
Ratanjit alluded to the fact that our advertising world and right now our politicians know that that's the fact. They know that we're vulnerable in that, so they play to that. So they tell us that, they are going to give us all of these things if we choose them. And the advertisers tell us we do deserve that better car. We do deserve that looking better, having those better clothes, going to these exotic locations, that we deserve this, and just put on your credit card. And you know, it's I mean, that's the way the world is right now. They're smart enough to adapt to this kind of flaw in our personality right now.
Yes, because they are expecting you to vote for them if they would promise you certain things or
Right.
increase your expectation. And that promise most of the time doesn't come through, does it?
Doesn't come true anyway, but we still think it might, so we vote for it. Yeah. Oh well. Been
Behave.
very interesting. Glad you were here to be part of it today. Thank you. Good to
No,
have you back.
thank you. It's a great topic.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Jack G, thank you. Sayal, thank you. Everybody else, we appreciate you being with us. We'll be back next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
All right. All right.
Bye.
Have a good week. Take care.